permission to speak. Shadows hide you. I am listening. Our paths converge.
So good to see you.
Hail to you. Never lose hope.
Here, Fred Shaft.
I hear you. It has only begun. Fight on, Fred!
Welcome to episode 489 of Concede, a Hearthstone podcast dedicated to making the competitive side of the game more accessible to you. It is Thursday, March 20th, 2025 in the evening. Coming to you from Nomergon, Ohio, it's me, Edelweiss. From Northrend, Massachusetts, we have Wicked Good.
Hi.
From Teldrassil, California, we have Megasa.
Hello.
And from all around the world, we have you, dear listeners. This week's episode is brought to you by our producers, Number Theory, Crash, Beef Squatch, David P., Jeremy T., Bottlecaps, Grumpy Monk, The Burger Club, Kirk Regan, Grizzly Bear, May, SSJ5 Goku, and NY Kiwi. And by our patrons of the week, Travis Jones and Andrew. You can go to patreon.com/coinconcede to get perks like a thank you at the top of the show, early access to new episodes, one-on-one coaching sessions, and help support the show in the process. If you would like to support the show but cannot do so monetarily, please consider leaving us a 5-star review on your podcast feed of choice, as it always helps other people find the show. So, Life and Ladder. I played a little bit of the Tavern Brawl and then realized just how narrow the discovers are. And I don't know, I was sort of less into it than I would expect. Like, I have one more run, I think, that'll use my tickets, but I'm not sure I'm actually going to spend gold on more runs. I don't know. How about you two?
Well, I am out here living my best life. I have played more Priest in the past 2 days than I think I've played in the past 2 months, and it has been glorious.
Get it in now.
I know, because it is going to be right back to where it was as soon as the expansion comes out. I am getting all of my priesting in right now, but I think one of you must have shared in our chat this imbued Draenei priest from X Nanok.
That was me
on Twitter. Yeah. And I said, well, I have 2 Moonwells in a dream. So I just, I said, why not? Like, I think I did one run before that with what I'm calling Voltron Warlock, which is the Dark Gift Wallow, because you assemble Voltron and then you kill them in one shot. So
yeah, it's pretty solid.
Yeah. So, and I got like 5 wins with that, and that was okay. And then I saw that, I'm like, okay, I've got 2 Moonwells. I got a Golden Tyrande out of my bundle. I thanked Hat for giving me that instead of seeding my my bundle pre-orders with signature rogue legendaries like he normally does. I told him that made up for it. But so I did that, and wow, this deck is like shockingly functional. Like, which is, I mean, that's high praise right now, but it's effectively a mid-range priest deck where you're playing all the imbues, you're playing Draenei, because that's what you have to work with effectively, and you're just kind of getting stuff and making stuff happen. And when, like, it felt better than it did in theory crafting, probably because the power level is so much lower and the discover pool is smaller. Like, I've gotten a few Moonwells off of the imbue that have been very much appreciated. And one of the things that I've realized with that deck is that you also, or just with the environment in general, is that you can actually set up 2-turn lethals, like, fairly reliably. Like, I've had a number of games where I just like, please don't heal, please don't heal, please don't heal. And then they didn't. And then I played a doubled Moonwell, or today I killed someone with a doubled Consecration that I got off of the 7-mana Draenei.
Oh my God.
Yeah, the Draenei have felt, so I played a co-op version of this with Wicked on his stream yesterday on Wednesday, and the Draenei felt kind of surprisingly good. And, having Ascara double, so Ascara is the one who doubles the next Draenei that you play. Having her double either Velen or the 4/8 Divine Shield Taunt Lifesteal.
Yeah.
It's in this format, 2 of those is great. I mean, 2 of those won us the game on more than one occasion. And just, we have some healing and a lot of people don't. There's a lot less rush in the format. There's a lot more trading. We don't necessarily know what that's going to look like in the full meta, although there's still going to be a lot less rush. Like, I wonder if we're going to see something like Escape Pod show up just because there isn't a lot of other rush minions necessarily in the format. More than there is within the Brawl, but still not as much as we're losing. But yeah, we also didn't in Theory Crafting play a list quite like this. So
No.
I am hopeful that maybe there will still be something like this that is playable in the full meta.
Yeah. I'm not optimistic. But
no shot.
Yeah. Like we're getting Ziliax back. We're getting all of the touring stuff back. Like the meta is going to be faster than this. It's still going to be slower than what we're used to right now, but it's going to be faster than what we have. But I mean, it's fun for right now to be able to do this. And then I'm fairly confident. I don't know. I don't have any inside information, but I'm fairly confident they're going to probably buff the imbue stuff if it doesn't hit, because it seemed pretty clear that they wanted it to hit, and that's why they were saving it for the end also. And I would not be surprised if they do something. I don't know what they would do, but I'm sure they're going to do that. But it's actually felt good, and I've been enjoying it. I've got 2 6-win runs with that priest now, which is pretty. I mean, when I'm paying 300 gold and getting 4 packs, I feel like I'm getting my gold's worth. So that kind of works out. And then, but I mean, you have to be winning that much in order to really justify putting the gold into it, I guess, because if you're, I mean, unless you're
if you win
fine
3,
with throwing,
you go even. If you would spend 300 gold,
do you go even on packs from the new set though? I don't think you do.
It might need 4 wins to get even gold. But if you're paying for the experience and you would spend 300 gold on the packs anyway, if you don't enjoy it, then don't do it. But if you enjoy it, I think it's a perfectly fine investment, depending on how much gold you have.
But it's like, if you're looking at it as like, I'm spending gold now instead of spending gold on packs later, then you really want to be hitting whatever is giving you the 3 packs from the new set in order to justify it. So but if I'm winning 6, then it doesn't matter that I'm coming out ahead, right? But yeah, you have to hit at least 4 wins in order to get the 3 packs from the new set and break even on what you would spend on just like dumping your gold after. But I also have a 6-win run on Dragon Warrior, so that was pretty good. That was with the Yasandra list with whose list was that? Was that your list? That was your list, Megasa, right? That you put together, that I just tweaked to take out the 2-drop dragon and put in Shaladrasil and Tortola because I had them. And it kind of helped out because we're drawing out minions with the 5-drop that draws two dragons, so it gives me a better chance of getting Yasandra. And also Shaladrasil is just burn. It's just neutral burn. It's 5 damage. Even if you don't corrupt it, it's like 5 damage from the Nightmare plus 5 damage from the Sarah Awakens, which has gotten me over the line in both the warrior and the priest. I don't know if that's going to necessarily be as much of an auto include as something like a Ziliax, but it has felt very good in a deck that can actually dump its hand, which is the big requirement for being able to play it, even if you can't corrupt it.
Yeah. Just being able to guaranteed get all of the pieces so that you'll have your clear, you'll have your extra damage, you'll have your bounce, whatever is really nice.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, so one, I had built it with a little bit of a lower dragon curve, in part because I didn't open Shaladrasil or Tortola.
This is a first world problem that I have, in terms of having all these things that I'm trying to find places for. But yeah.
I have so much dust, and also was wanting to like buy expansions for other games that I decided I was just going to stick to the $50 bundle. And I was lucky enough to open Yasandra and most of the epics that I needed for the Dragon Warrior, which was something that I had been making lists for anyway. So I was excited to do that. And of course, because it's me, I made it a little more tempo, which I think was also effective. I went 6-2 with that, although I do think the list could be improved. And Illusory Green Wings, just a fantastic card.
Yeah.
And the 5/5 draw, it is kind of expensive, but then you get some mana back on the back end when it draws things. And it is a decent sized body. And just in general, the dragon package feels good. There were lots of times so I was playing one with a little bit of a like self-damage package with Sanguine Depths. And the problem with Sanguine Depths was that it takes up a board space. On the one hand, it's great with Grom, who got me over the line a bunch of times.
Oh yeah. People forget that Grom is a card. Like I got so many lethals with Grom and they had no idea that it was coming.
And Grom is not rotating, by the way.
Yeah.
But again, the meta will be different, but it isn't rotating. So do keep that in mind. So I had Sanguine Depths, and I had it also for some extra draw with Acolyte of Pain because the deck is a little lacking in draw otherwise if you don't happen to hit the like dragon that draws dragons. But Yasandra can summon so many dragons and you just don't have space for them. However, if you don't have space for them, it's because you've got other stuff on board. So you're probably still fine. But there were times when I got a Dark Gift Yasandra that summoned a 2/2 Yasandra from the Dark Rider, which, by the way, I was really impressed with the Dark Rider, which is the one that discovers a dragon with a Dark Gift. Of course, this is a very limited discover pool, but even so, the dragons are still going to be strong in the full format.
There aren't that many more dragons in those other sets that are going to clog up the pool. So.
No, they're not super dragon heavy sets that we're getting back. So having an extra Yasandra, of course, was hilarious. And then I had like an egg of one of them. So I did not have anywhere near enough room for all the dragons that came out of them, but they were still taunts that then summoned like more taunts, and so it was fine. I still won. Also, PSA for anyone who hasn't played with Yasandra or seen someone playing Yasandra, it's any Yasandras that have died, not just yours. So if you're in the mirror, I haven't played a mirror yet, but I imagine that's silly. I think it might be kind of interesting because it doesn't punish you so much for being the second person to find your Yasandra, because you're kind of still benefiting from theirs. But it's also annoying if they steal your Yasandra, because then they get the benefit of all your hard work. And we still have, because we have the old core, we still have MC Tech, and we still have like Hex through the gift and stuff like that in core for this particular format. We won't in the real format. Yeah. So
at least Bob is fixed. So that's, at least they're not stealing off of your board with Bob. But yeah, those are annoying. I did have one very funny game with that warrior where I had like a Yasandra and like 2 eggs on board, and my opponent had cleared me twice, and every time they cleared my board, they made it better for me.
That is very good. You can low roll, but not usually. Like there's a bunch of good dragons. There's not.
There's a lot of 12 health dragons that just come out of them. Like, okay, here you go. Like like Sleepy Dragon. Like, okay, now I've got a 4/12 taunt. What are you doing about that? Okay.
I was very impressed with Illusory Greenwing. I played not the Dragon Warrior, but I was trying to see how well Death Rattle Demon Hunter would do in this. I think it's not showing its full potential in this Tavern Brawl, but I still got 6-1 with it. Didn't run just Arcanite because that's too few Death Rattles with the mineral draw you have access to. So I ran Illusory Greenwing. And when I wasn't gaining tons of armor with Arcanite, I was just constantly summoning 4 or 5 taunts and overwhelming people.
Oh my god.
It's pretty good. I've also played a little bit of the Frankenmeta. I have been not doing as much of my outside work as I should be, so I haven't played that much of the Frankenmeta. But I played a little Sludge Lock. I played a little Aggro Paladin. I've seen a lot of Rainbow Mage, so if you're a Rainbow Mage person, I don't know if it's the best thing to do right now, but people are definitely enjoying that snake oil costs 0, so they can do it. But I've been having a good time with the Brawl, and so I've been mostly focusing on that. And also watching people play with cards that I didn't open, like Hat had kind of a surprise last minute stream last night, so I watched him play Paladin and Hunter, and that of course was a good time.
Yeah.
So
yeah, the Paladin seems very good. Also, I haven't played that yet because Ursol is one of the cards that I didn't open. I probably don't need it, but because like just with it's one card and you can just do some stuff with like Librams and Imbue, and that deck just goes forever. Like that's the control deck of the Tavern Brawl format effectively. Like whenever I run into it with either the warrior or the priest, it's like, well, I need to play for tempo now because if this game goes long, then they're going to win. And that does seem like I had one game where I just got completely blown out because they just got all the Librams all up front. And like when they get both the +1/+1 Libram with Death Rattle and the 3/3 Libram that comes back to your hand and keep putting it on stuff, it's so much like just early value that it's really hard to outlast. And then by the time you get through all that, then there's a parade of dragons coming in, and that's just like sometimes you can get over them, sometimes they just get unlucky and they don't draw the dragon portals out of the deck, but eventually if that goes long enough, they eventually will.
Yeah, I mean, I think, you know, the Libram one, because we don't have the tutor for the weapon, it is somewhat draw dependent, so I don't expect we'll see a lot of that outside of the pre-release brawl, but I think we'll have a really good just dragon-based Imbue Paladin with Ursol, because that's just like so much damage, so much inevitability.
Yeah, and they'll have Linessa back once we get into full standard, right? So like Linessa things are probably going to be better than Imbue things because that's generally what they end up doing somehow. So
well, but they did make Holy Glow Sticks not go face. I think for that exact reason.
They still have the Divine Shield one. Yeah.
They have the Divine Shield one, but no Wind Fury.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah. That does make it a little bit worse.
I could be wrong, but on the record, I think that Imbue is going to be better than straight Linessa.
I don't think it's an if. I think it's why not both is kind of where I'm going.
It's more you use Linessa instead of
the Librams.
Okay, I misunderstood you. You meant instead of the Librams. Yeah, I would definitely do that instead of Librams. Yeah. I thought you meant instead of Imbue, and I'm like, what?
No.
You can play the Imbue spell twice.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, that's true.
And then you can do the draw spell from your deck and not from your deck. Yeah.
Their Imbue cards feel so much better than a lot of the other classes Imbue cards. Like,
it's the only one that can get
summon
to 10.
a dragon and...
Well, Druid can.
Sure, but that doesn't count. Druid is just a different system.
Yeah.
Yeah. It does. The Druid does feel a little bit similar in that, like, they imbue a million times and then they just have big guys for the rest of the game. So you have to kill them.
And then you ignore them and kill them. Yeah.
Although I kind of feel like both may actually find more success in kind of going earlier, right? Like probably once you're making 3/3s or 4/4s as Druid, it's fine to just like keep doing that. So you make sure you're getting your body every turn.
Yeah, I mean, they can get a lot of spells cheaply, I've noticed when I'm playing them. So yeah, maybe you don't wait until they're 12/12s before you start hitting the button.
And like if I'm at 3 on Paladin, I think it's totally reasonable with the Paladin. Like if you have the time to shuffle in portals, just sort of assume that you won't draw them right away and you can keep upgrading them. And if you do draw them at like 3 or something, sometimes you get the one that also is an Imbue on Death Rattle. So it's...
Yeah, or you get the one that draws your highest cost spell, which you want to do anyway with Ursol, so it's fine.
Yeah.
But we should talk about more than just this Tavern Brawl.
We got stuff to do.
Gadgets and Gazette always gets the scoop.
So yeah, we have a little bit of news, not too much, as one would expect leading up to the week of an expansion. A lot of the stuff is really known. We know that the expansion is coming out on Tuesday for real, so there's not a whole lot of news that's been coming out. We've seen a lot of it. Most of it revolves around known issues in the new patch. So we do have some of those, especially with a major patch and a major patch at rotation time. There are going to be things that pop up. Some of those things as usual, will probably have been fixed by the time you hear this. We record on Thursdays. They tend to issue some of these patches on Fridays as a hot fix to fix things. I'm saying that because I haven't made sure to say that in the past, and then we've released episodes that come out on Sunday that sound kind of silly because all the stuff that we're warning is broken is fixed. So remember that we're recording this on Thursday. So one thing that did happen is that if you had bought the large pre-order bundle, you got a signature Malorn. And while opening your packs, you could still open a regular Malorn. This actually happened to me. So you shouldn't be able to do that because of duplicate protection. They did subsequently, I think yesterday, Wednesday of this week, roll out a hot fix that would prompt you to re-roll your Malorn. So if you did get an extra Malorn, it should prompt you to re-roll it, which is much appreciated. That's how I got my Tortola yesterday, was off of the re-roll from the Malorn. So that was much appreciated. So just, and it may not go out all at once. They say it's going to be deployed over the course of a few days. So if you haven't seen it, just keep your eye out for it. You're not going to miss it, but you may be a little bit confused why it's randomly asking you to re-roll a Malorn. Ravenous Fellhunter and Ferocious Fellbat can get confused about their targets, sometimes getting back stuff they shouldn't or missing stuff they should if it got silenced before it died. So if a Death Rattle gets silenced, it's still a Death Rattle minion that died, so it should still be eligible to come back from Ravenous Fellhunter and Ferocious Fellbat, which are resurrecting Death Rattles that cost 4 or less or 5 or more, respectively. This is an issue. I think we had this issue back in the Zyrella Hero days when it would replay all the Death Rattles of minions that had died, and if you silenced it, then it wouldn't happen. So this is just another thing. I'm sure they know how to fix it, and they will. You can't disenchant signature Nightmare Lord Xavius. I'm not sure why you'd want to right now, but you can't. Sorry, they'll fix it. Maybe you just really are all in on being on the good side of the Emerald Dream, and you really don't want any Dark Gift stuff. I mean, you do, if you want to be on the roleplay server, you do you. Minions that have summoned when drawn will fail to retain Dark Gifts when discovered by Nightmare Lord Xavius. I think this is really just the illusory Greenwing tokens that get shuffled into the deck, because those are 4 or 5 minions that say summon when drawn. So if you're and Nightmare Lord Xavius says discover a copy of a minion, or not discover a copy, discover a minion from your deck with a Dark Gift attached. So it looks like if you pick the illusory Greenwing tokens that got shuffled into your deck, then you won't get a Dark Gift on those. They're going to fix that. Opening a signature Saladrasil from a pack results in a client soft lock. Restarting the client will resolve the issue, and all the cards will be in your collection. Again, not to be all Richie rich, but I got a signature Saladrasil from a pack. Oh no, I got it from a bundle, not from a pack. That's why it didn't do that to me. But that's kind of got to be a roller coaster of emotions. I would imagine, like, oh, I got a Saladrasil. Oh no, what happened? Did I get it? You did. But yeah. And created signature cards with the Sweet Dreams Dark Gift are not playable. So do be aware, if you're playing that particular card and you're picking a signature, those are not going to be playable right now. So there are some others you can read through. There's some Battlegrounds ones that we didn't touch on, but they're going to be fixing those over the next week. The nice thing about having the pre-release brawls, they have plenty of time to fix some of these bugs before they start hitting the live servers. So I would not be surprised if we get a hot fix, say tomorrow, to address a lot of these issues and clean them up before the launch of the expansion on Tuesday. There's also an interview on Game Rant with Gallon and one of the graphic designers, Des Ben Cosme. I might be butchering his last name, and I really apologize if I did. about the new expansion. There were a few interesting tidbits. I guess you got some things that you pulled out. You want to mention those?
Yeah, it talks a lot about the theming of Into the Emerald Dream. Apparently, this is something that they've been wanting to do for quite a while. And World of Warcraft kept saying, no, we have some plans for Emerald Dream. Wait for us. Come back to it. But they were really excited to build on all of the lore that they have in World of Warcraft for this, but also, adjust some of the art for characters to have the corrupted side of the Emerald Dream. They talk about how with the dark gifts, they, Discover is, for all that people sometimes get mad about, Generation, generally considered one of the better, if not the best keyword that has been introduced in a new pack. And they wanted to interject a little bit more decision-making into the Discovers. The dark gift might mean you pick something you wouldn't normally pick. So it just adds a little bit extra there. If you're playing Wallow and you see charge, you get charge no matter what it was, but it might be a card you would never have picked. It might also be a Nerubian egg with charge on it. Doesn't matter. It gave your Wallow charge. And they talked about the deck building question of the Druid Imbue. In terms of specific cards they wanted to include, Galen was asked what cards were totally necessary to include, and he said, Xavius, all this stuff, and he said also Mother Duck was very important to us. We're doing an Emerald Dream set. We have to do those. He said that he wished that they could have had an ugly duckling art that you got every once in a while on one of the ducks. That would have been great. I'm sorry that we didn't have that.
Yeah, I also wish that. Just make one of them gray. It's fine.
Yeah. And then there's a little bit more about, bottom up versus top down design. So if you have something like Omen, Wind Fury kind of makes sense because it has two heads, but then what's that going to look like in terms of the actual mechanics of playing the game? Or apparently they had a few more dark gifts that they thought were flavorful in development that they cut because they didn't work mechanically, including one that gave spell damage. Glad they cut that. I can see that being either totally useless or way too useful and kind of not in between. So, and then there's also some details about the VFX and the fight between the dream and the nightmare and having things that look like the dream. And then there's a little bit of corruption in the corner and making sure that you have, the puffs of Emerald Dream magic, but then it turns into vines and brambles and all of that kind of stuff, which I have to say the art and the animations look great for this set, being able to play with it. So yeah, if you're interested in that kind of details, we have the link in the show notes as well.
That's all for news for this week. So that gives us plenty of time to talk one more time about the cards from the Into the Emerald Dream and what we're excited about when the set goes live next week.
All right. So as is tradition, we have our card superlatives. Of course, that's a little different these days when we've had a chance to play with it a little bit. Although, usual disclaimer, as we have mentioned, neither the theory crafting meta nor the pre-release Brawl meta is going to be perfectly reflective or probably even all that reflective of the actual launch meta. And day one meta is never the actual meta, and day two meta, it always takes a little while, especially after rotation. However, we will be confidently wrong or potentially right about these cards. So as usual, we have card you can't wait to play more with, card you're scared of, card you want to be good but isn't, card you think is over or underrated, and card you don't understand. So we will start with card you can't wait to play more with. I had to put Illusory Greenwing because I'm excited about it in multiple decks. I want to play it in Paladin. I want to play it in Warrior. I could see playing it, in Demon Hunter, just there's lots of places that this would be good, I think. So I potentially even some sort of Zarimi Priest, which we talked about in a prior episode, whether that would be possible. So
you tried that in theory crafting. It was good. It felt good.
It felt good. So even if we're not necessarily doing imbue things, I think we'll probably be doing dragon things. Other things that I'm excited to play with is there's so the aggro rogue that we saw in theory crafting. I'm kind of scared of that. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but I'm also excited to play it because it's just like so much stats really early, and that's my jam. I want to play some sort of tourist wisp mage like I talked about with the theory crafting. I don't think I had the list in theory crafting, but I'm hopeful someone does who's better at deck building than I am, because it just seems like there's got to be something. And I've been seeing rumors about big spell shaman. Because you can use Cosmonaut. There is like a discount big spells package in the Great Dark Beyond set, and then you can resurrect your 8 drops from Nebula using Marithra. So there's just like little things that you can do, and Shaladrasil can get corrupted, and then you have like you can discount Shaladrasil and then corrupt it more easily, and then get all of that stuff. So.
Sounds very ambitious, but I wish them well.
I mean, we never thought we'd see Big Spell Mage, and then suddenly we did.
Well, that was because they printed broken cards in the mini set. That's why we saw Big Spell Mage.
Not
It wasn't
even-
like somebody just hit on a list. Like
they buffed cards.
yes, that too.
Yeah.
They buffed cards and then they printed more broken cards in the mini set.
But like back in Alterac, that Big Spell Mage, that one did kind of come out of nowhere.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember listening to the VS podcast and hearing Zacho being like, I never thought I'd say this. That was like the first time in a long time that we'd had a big spell mage.
Yeah,
that
was
was Naga that swapped costs of something in your hand and something in their hand, right?
Yeah, that was like Habu Gabu going into the lab and coming out with like 2 tablets. Yeah.
And like in The Martian, there's this one character who's just like sleeping in the office and a complete mess. And he's like, wait, I think I have an idea. And then won't tell anyone it is and just frantically works until he shows up at the director of NASA, who he doesn't know who he is. And he's just like, here, we have it. And it's perfectly formed and beautiful. All right. But main thing, card I can't wait to play more with, my actual choice is Illusory Greenwing. And I'm confident that I will have fun playing that card.
It might be the best card in the expansion. It's really
definitely up there.
Good. Like, not because its baseline effect is insane. Like, it's good. But there are multiple things in this expansion around recursion. So whether it's the Death Rattle Demon Hunter resurrecting it, or if you're not doing Asandra stuff in the Warrior, you can copy these, right? Like there's a bunch of effects where you can get additional Illusory Greenwings and then just kind of go nuts on resummoning those taunts.
I will say, given what we've gotten in the last couple of sets, if this is the best neutral in the set, bang up job. Great job. Like, it's not that it's not a strong card. Don't get me wrong, but this is not like the kind of game-breaking card or the kind of card that's giving like mechanics to sets that shouldn't have to classes that shouldn't have them or anything like that. It's just a good, solid minion that you can find a reason to include in a lot of decks, but it's not an auto include because the effect is broken or giving something to a class that it shouldn't have otherwise. So yeah, great job if that's the best neutral in the set.
Well, Adel, I almost picked your card for card I'm scared of, but I should have known you would pick it for card you can't wait to play more with. What was your card that you chose?
Yeah, so Hideous Husk, I talked about kind of going between like being really excited and then disappointed when I realized the buff isn't permanent, and then excited again when I played with it and saw it played. And I have remained on excited. It's quite good, even if there's not good odds of like discovering additional ones beyond maybe off Hematurge. Just the turns where you can go Hideous Husk plus the draw spell for 4 leeches and just do this 12 health swing either across their board or their face. Like, somehow it didn't compute as well when I had first read it that like, oh yeah, I will gain max health from this. Just gonna get to do the kind of blood decay, like, yeah, there's armor, and then there's just having max health of like 70 or 80 or whatever. So yeah, I'm excited to do sort of the Leech and Breach deck, particularly on launch, because then I can actually use Headless Horseman and have that just insane value end game of Horseman, plus, if it's necessary, kill Jaden. And then with mana from Ysera, like, you can just do all the things. The only thing that's missing is Soul Stealer is going to be gone, and so that's tough, not having Soul Stealer and not being able to discover Soul Stealer from the Horseman hero power.
Yeah, people have been using a lot of Soul Stealer in the Brawl because it's their last chance, and it is really good for the deck. It is good for the deck.
Sure is.
And Wicked, what did you choose for card you can't wait to play more with?
Surprising no one, like literally no one. It's Tyrande. A priest legendary that's generically good. Like, and the effect is really good. Like, there's a lot of use cases, and I don't know if this Imbue Priest is going to be anything, but you get a bunch of random jank, and just Tyrande makes a lot of spells better. It does make you have to think about how you're going to play things to not use up that buff sometimes. Like, getting it sounds like Shalandrasil would be great to double, but you don't usually have hand space for it, and you really want to double up the things that are coming out of it, which are all really good. Except, well, two of them are really good. One of them is useless. Like, the bounce doesn't do anything, but getting +10/+10 on a Nightmare or getting 10 damage off an Awakens are both really, really good. But then you have to plan around the fact that you're losing a buff if you're doing that. But so it adds a lot of like ordering and strategy to it, but also just like a lot of these innocuous spells just get cracked with being able to double them. I mean, Moonwell in particular is just 8 face damage in a priest. like, is it my birthday?
While clearing their board.
Yeah. And healing everything 8, right? And then like I said, I killed somebody with a double consecration today that I got off of the 7-drop Draenei, which is stupid, but it's a thing that you can do. And like, you can kind of find those interesting lines when some of these cards that are not great just get a lot better. I mean, even things like, I don't know, like Fly Off the Shelves becomes a much better board clear. That's getting a lot better if you're playing in a dragon package. Like, Light Bomb generally becomes a full clear a lot of the time.
Hot Coals.
Yeah,
right?
Hot Coals is really good too. Yeah.
Going from 3 to 6, but also if you have a Blood Mage Thalnos and you double Hot Coals, right?
Yeah.
Like, what? That's 10 damage to everything?
Yeah. Yeah, she could add a lot of reach even to decks that are not trying to be super controlling. Just like, if you are facing a control deck who's not pressuring you, then you have time to play her, and then that gives you your over-the-top damage. I could see that. Yeah.
And Void Shard's coming back into core too.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So, like, that's another spell that goes face. That's another 8 damage face with Blood Mage Thalnos, it's 10. Right? Like Chrono Boost. Draw 4, make 2 Zealots. Like,
and then hallucinations. Yeah.
And then hallucinate. Yeah. Exactly. What you're drawing is probably a hallucinate, right? And then you make 2 more Zealots. Like, there's a lot of things that just get very nutty very quickly. But you need to think about it, and you need to kind of set it up that way. It is a little bit hard to get that body down sometimes, but you generally get a chance to do something to clear out a board and then just play she's got a decent stats on her too. So it's not like you're just playing. I mean, you're playing a vanilla 5/7, but at least it's like not an embarrassing minion, and the health means that if you're not imbuing, you can heal it. It gets some value trades. Like, that's not what you want to be doing, but sometimes you just go face for 5 and that helps, right?
Yeah. Plus, she's Tyrande.
She's Tyrande.
Yes. Yeah. And finally a card. So, yeah. All right. Well, last time for a card you can't wait to play more with, I had picked Triangulate, which I think I did have a good time with Asteroid Shaman. I had less of a good time when my opponents would triangulate like gifts and then just hex everything, which actually happened to me in the Brawl. I'm like, really? We're doing this? And it totally was effective because I was playing Ysandra, and Ysandra is much less useful when she's a frog. So that they strategized that well. And last time Edel picked Saroon. This was not the mini set, but back before the mini set, of course.
Yeah. Saroon was solid.
Yeah. And Wicked, you picked the Ceaseless Expanse, which
that's like as safe of a pick as you can
all
get.
Over. Yeah.
All right. So, and Wicked, what is the card that you are scared of?
Ursol terrifies me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so that's the 8 mana 9/7 for Paladin that has the battle cry, cast the highest cost spell from your hand and as an aura that lasts 3 turns, and it really should just say cast Renewing Flame from your hands. It lasts it lasts 3 turns because that's the only spell you're ever casting with it.
Yeah,
and it is very hard to get through that just because that's 10 damage, clearing off your big minions or going face, and also healing for 10 because it has lifesteal. Because Renewing Flames is 7 mana, deal 5 damage to the lowest cost enemy character twice, or lowest health enemy character twice. So if you do have to play around that and make sure you're keeping your health up above your minions, because then it can just ignore your minions and hit you in the face. And it's felt like it takes a little while to get down. It feels kind of like Odin, where it takes a while to get it down, but once you do, it's very hard to come back from, it felt. And also, unlike Odin, this is actually removing threats on the turn that it's being played. So, and it's also, kind of bridging into the late game in an Imbue Paladin is where we saw it in theory crafting a lot. Like No Hands was just playing that and just destroying all comers with it. We ran into No Hands a couple times and it was brutal. I mean, it's No Hands. He could beat us with a ham sandwich, but it felt very efficient in how it was doing it. And there's a lot of ways to draw. I mean, that's just what Paladin's doing, is drawing the highest cost spell in the deck and making sure that you always have the Renewing Flames in hand. So,
I mean, just the fact that there's a weapon that you swing it twice and you have drawn Ursol and Renewing Flames if you want to build your deck that way. And you can just slot that 4 or 5 card package into any Paladin, right?
Yeah.
Means we'll be seeing a lot of it.
Yeah. That's something that I think I'm definitely going to play it. I am excited to play it. I think it's good to have inevitability and lethality, and I also wouldn't be super surprised if we see that nerfed, because it is the kind of thing that, unlike something like Illusory Greenwing, where you didn't necessarily lose to it, the Ursol is what you lost to. So it gets old faster, but I'm excited to play with it, and less excited to lose to it, which I'm sure I will plenty.
Yeah, I could see the flames going to 4 twice later.
Yeah. All right. Well, Edel, what is the card that you are scared of?
So, card package, sort of. We've talked about this plenty, so we don't need to linger on it. But the Demon Hunter Death Rattle stuff is ridiculous. Day 1, it'll be Arcanite, and it'll get fixed. I feel very confident of that. If it doesn't happen, I'm happy to be wrong, but it just feels so likely to me that Arcanite is going to go to 5 mana, hot fixed on day 1 of the patch. We'll see. However, that then means people will switch over to things like Illusory Greenwing and maybe the Dreadseed 4-drop. That one you get into a little bit of board space issues, but it's still a powerful 4-drop. Definitely the Quillbore that with lifesteal that's deal 3 to the lowest. Yeah, Ball Hog. Deal 3 on Battlecry, the lowest health enemy, and on Death Rattle. Like, that is sort of a replacement. Good stabilization and healing, which the deck sort of needs, and then also you're just clearing, dealing phase damage. Like, you're summoning a bunch of stuff, and so if that stuff has a decently powerful Death Rattle that is worth making happen a dozen times, like, it just it builds up so quickly, and so I went 6-1 in the brawl with Greenwing and Arcanite, but that's without the spell that recasts or like does the death rattle of a death rattle minion you discover that died this game.
Oh yeah, return policy.
Yeah, and then you also get one. So if you do that on Fell Hunter, and so you summon your 2 copies of a death rattle that costs 4 or less, and also get a Fell Hunter to hand, plus we'll have Carnivorous Cubicle. Like, it's truly never ending, whichever one that you pick to go in on. So even though Fell Hunter and Fellbat themselves, like, you have to always be able to jump through the hoop of getting them killed off, it's, yeah.
You'll get them killed off. Like,
it's so much, like, damage and stuff.
I mean, there's no way really for most classes to deal with repeated death rattles anyway. Like, there's no mass silence.
Mm-hmm.
There's no removal. There's no like Reno effect where it's removing minions without triggering the death rattle. Bob doesn't steal off the board anymore. You have to hard run Hex in Shaman, and Deafen is rotating out. So that was the way that Rogue and Priest would be silencing things. So yeah, it's really hard. I mean, unless you're running the 4-mana tradable silence a minion guy, which if we're doing that, like, that's not a meta I want to be playing in if we have to run 2 copies of that, like Rustrot Viper.
We have a commenter in the chat, Bayfin Bodybuilder.
Oh God. It's Bayfin Bodybuilder's time to shine, baby. Let's go.
Bayfin Bodybuilder, for those who don't remember this card, which is got to be many of you, is the one, it's a giant Murloc and from Perils, I believe, and it says that basically minions cannot be summoned for your opponent during their turn.
Well, no, they do. So they are summoned and they die, and they sit silenced and die immediately, which is
That's
hilarious
right.
If they happen to have a cookie on board, because then they just keep dying and then resurrecting themselves as one bigger
That's
over
right.
and over and over again.
Okay.
Yeah. So if they just drop the Fell Hunter and are like, what are you gonna do? Kill it off? You Bayfin Bodybuilder, trade into it, and they don't get their stuff. Yeah. We'll have to see. Happy to be wrong, but this stuff has me scared. And I'm excited for death rattles to be viable again, but
not like this.
Yeah, maybe not like this. Maybe not in such a nesting doll fashion. It's cool to have sort of the big death rattles and things. I think I'm kind of excited for a Starship Death Knight, because I always thought that was fun, and it was always just sort of like tier 3, maybe low tier 2. But now that Bob's going to be gone, MC Deck is gone, is like, I do think that's a generally good thing, but it means that if a death rattle effect gets out of hand, there's not really tools to address it.
And the other thing that I don't think we're talking about enough in the post rotation is that ETC is rotating out. So if you are putting a tech card in your deck specifically for a deck like this, there is a real deck building cost to it. As opposed to before, for the last really 2 years, you would just put ETC in your deck and you put that and like 2 other things, one other situational card, and then one like generically good card that you wouldn't mind running, like a second copy of something you would have had in your deck. Now, if you want to run Bayfin Bodybuilder, you are taking a deck slot for Bayfin Bodybuilder, and that is always going to be in your deck, whether you want to play it against that opponent or not.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah. And that's something that could be it's interesting on how you nerf that, but I'm sure that the first thing would potentially be Arcanite Defense Crystal, because that is just something people will get mad about, even if it's not overly powerful.
Well, I mean, the other ones, at least, like, yeah, there are a lot of value and they can do a lot of damage, but there's kind of an end to it. But like, you get so much armor off the defense crystals that it's just becomes impossible to get through that much armor, especially just like with the limited lethality we're going to have in this next meta.
Mm-hmm.
card that I am scared of is really Hideous Husk, but just because it's in a blood DK, and yeah,
we all have our boogeymen, and yours is blood DK.
and mine is blood DK. Yeah. So, but runner up here, Twisted Webweaver, which is the sort of draw engine card for Rogue, for the combo. Or it's like when you replay a card.
It's not even necessarily replay. Like if you get your second copy, that counts. It's just
yes.
Anytime you play a minion for the second time onward.
Draw a card. Yeah, the 1-mana 1/3 beast, whenever you play another minion you've already played, draw a card. Even if that's just the second copy of it. So this just, Rogue can... It's very roguey. I'm sure Rogue mains will enjoy it. Just draw your whole deck, put a bunch of stuff on the board. We got totally destroyed by a couple different people, I think, with just extremely aggressive rogues that kept bouncing the Buccaneers, or whatever it's called, the 3/2s that make copies of themselves, and they just had what seemed like endless amounts of them extremely early, or other pirates, and never ran out of stuff because they're always drawing. I mean, I will probably try playing it because it seems like a rogue deck that is more minion focused, which is more what I tend to do, versus I am not a Garrote rogue style player or a Sonya rogue style player, although probably Sonya will still be in here because Sonya is a card and you're running minions, so why not? But I can see myself just getting blown out of games. If they get the nuts, then it's just a ridiculous amount of stats. And it has rush, which a lot of things don't in this format. So, but I think that rogue mains will hopefully enjoy it. All right, so last time, for cards that you're scared of, Wicked, you picked Exarch Niall.
Valid.
Good card. I feel like not a card that invites a lot of salt, but clearly a very good card.
It's not the thing that's killing you, it's the thing that's enabling them to kill you. So.
Yeah, it's the thing that keeps their card advantage. And Edel, you picked Quasar. I think I can safely say you were correct about that one.
Got nerfed by 2 mana.
Good. They should do it again just for fun. Like
they bolted that coffin shut. Yeah.
And I picked Airlock Breach, continuing I have to pick a blood DK card just because I have definitely lost games to Airlock Breach, although it was not nearly as broken as I feared it might be. I'm sure we'll see more of it though, going forward.
Oh yeah. It'll be Airlock Breach plus the leeches.
And they'll just never die.
Yep.
Yeah, I ran into a Death Knight in my run today that I conceded when they were up to about 70 max health between airlock breaches and leeches that I just could not clear. And it was my own fault because I imbued in the wrong order and I didn't have mana left over for the Holy Nova that would have cleared all the leeches. And I was very sad. And then they gained another like 20 health. And I'm like, you know what? You got this. We don't need to keep playing this out. We're good. I'm going to go now.
Just save your time.
Yeah.
Your time is worth something. All right. So for card, you want to be good, but isn't. I bucked the assignment a little bit here. I think this is possibly good, but I am much less scared of it than I was before. And that is Imbue Hunter. Just because it is a problem that the hero power hits random beasts because it's really hard to build it with a really curated beast package. Yeah. But it's so often that you're sitting there going, well, do I hero power or not? Because if I hero power and it hits the wrong thing, then I wasted my turn, right? Or if I hero power and hit the right thing, then I have a nutty play. But the nutty plays are offset by the turns where you just like have an awkward amount of mana. So you end up sitting there, and I think maybe it being correct to wait longer to start the hero power chain until you have more mana, so you're going to be able to play stuff anyway, versus like hero powering on 4 and then you don't have a 2-drop just feels terrible. So it might just be we're not quite building it correctly. And certainly if you do get the Goldrin thing off, like Goldrin is nuts. But it is a little bit more awkward than I expected just viewing the cards.
Yeah, I mean, Donkey had an interesting take to, still have Niall and Discover package. So you kind of do that to fill up your hand and reduce the cost of alien encounters. You still have that powerful sort of mid-game stuff. And then later on, you do your imbues until you specifically hit, like, King Plush a bunch or Plush Goldrin, something like that.
Yeah. And Plush gets even better when you're doing that because it's got more power, which means it shuffles more things into the deck.
Right, exactly. So yeah, it may be more of a kind of, you've got other stuff that is your early and mid-game pressure, and then that hero power is just sort of like a ticking time bomb before, hey, if this goes long, you're just going to explode.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me as something that might be a better use for the package. Rengari Scout plus Malorn is very funny. But you do have to, I think you probably want to wait a little bit versus trying to get the sort of tempo imbues on the like 5-drop and 4-drop from the expansion, because they're great if you hit them and bad if you miss them. So,
yeah.
All right. Edel, what is the card that you want to be good but isn't?
So I picked Typhoon because I love a big clear like this. This is one of those things that does deal with death rattles, right? Just says, nope, get shuffled. And I'm sure it has a wonderful animation that hopefully I'll get to see. But it's 10 mana.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm trying to think of other 10 mana clears we've had. Even Plague of Death was 9.
Yeah.
I mean, we played Reno at 10.
Yeah, Whirlpool was 8, and they had to buff it down to 7.
Right. Yeah, wait, is that right?
I think so. Or there was 9. No, it was 9, and they buffed it to 8.
Right, yeah.
Because 9 was too much. And that was kind of not the same, but it was kind of I mean, it was a full clear that also got rid of the other copies in hand and deck, right? So like that was even then. I mean, like Yogg was 9, then they nerfed it. I mean, that was kind of but that's also a single, a one-sided board clear,
right? And Reno at 10 was a one-sided board clear. I just don't know. Like, there are the sort of big spell related things in Shaman, but I just don't know if you ever do that for something that is a board clear versus the proactive things like Nebula. So
yeah,
it just leaves me wondering if this has a chance at 10 mana, right? Particularly if you wanted to like Hagatha and have Hagatha in your deck, which could tutor it. Like, I guess you can reduce it with the Parrot Sanctuary, but it just, yeah, I don't know. I don't know to what extent finding ways to cheat mana to get Typhoon ends up being worth it.
And you don't want to play it with like the Wild God Onara because you don't want to just randomly have your board cleared.
I mean,
when you have her up.
I mean,
maybe you do. Sometimes you hope for it, but other times you don't want it to happen. And if you do it with Hagatha, then your slime clears itself.
Which is fine.
It's like, but yeah.
50-50 chance you get it back in your deck. It's kind of cool.
Although you don't want to draw it because then it costs 10 mana for a 10/10. That does. I mean, would it keep the battle cry? I actually don't know. Would it keep the battle cry to do Typhoon again?
It would keep the battle cry. It just still cost 10, right? Like it
would just still cost 10. You have to discount it again.
Cheaper. It's just a minion, so you can, play it for 1 with Murmur or something, but which is actually 7. Yeah. It's just very odd. I mean, I guess there's Cosmonaut, what draws and reduces cost by 5 or something. That's the only way I see it being viable.
Or you imbue enough that you play Malorn, you go into Aviana, you wait long enough, and then it costs 1. Sure.
That's not a plan.
It's a concept of a plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did go into the card library just to see what 10 mana board clears we've had. One of them was Shield Shatter, which is cheating because it never cost you 10 because it got discounted by how much armor. One of them was Puzzle Box of Yogg-Saron, which was not so much not so much a board clear as just an opportunity to throw the board in the air and let all the pieces fall on the ground. And then Warlock had Doom with an exclamation point, which was 10 mana, destroy all minions, just draw a card for each. And I had to read that out because nobody has ever seen that card played in the history of it.
Untrue. Toast ran it in his meme lock. Yeah,
was that the Yasharaj Barnes?
No.
Deck?
This
No?
was Reno, OG Reno Warlock.
Oh yeah. Well, okay.
With Doom and Jiraxis, and
So-
it had the 0 cost sacrificial pact when you could still target an enemy Jiraxis. And there was the wonderful moment where he baited someone into playing Jiraxis so that he could sacrificial pact it because he was closed decklist.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
In fairness, that was a card that was a deck that required you to play one copy of each card, and there were only 30 cards available to Warlock at the time. So,
All right. Well, Wicked, what is the card you want to be good but isn't? I don't think people are going to be surprised by this one either.
Well, speaking of concepts of plans, yeah, Aviana Alun's Chosen is not it. It's just not. Like, so I saw this twice. I cut it from the Draenei Priest because the person who built the deck said that it was too slow and they never played it, and I just put in another Draenei or something. I don't even remember what I put in. Whatever it was better. I saw it played once when somebody played it, and then I ran all my minions into their face and they died immediately. Because it's a 9-mana 7/11 that has no ability to protect you. So it is very ambitious to do that. The other time was when, Megasa, you and I played it in Theory Crafting, and because we got it off of it was Theory Crafting or the pre-release brawl. It was the pre-release brawl.
It was the pre-release brawl. We had imbued a 7 or something.
Yeah. Oh, we got it off an imbue. It wasn't even off Malorn. We got it off just off of the imbue hero power. Yeah.
For 2 mana. So we figured 4 mana, 2 for the hero power plus 2 for her was fine for a 7/11 that might matter in 3 turns. And we actually forgot that she was active on the turn that she was about to be active. And we had worked out that we had lethal with full price. And Donkey in the chat is like, it's going to cost 1. It doesn't matter, which we didn't notice until after we'd already worked out the full math.
Yeah. So that was a great use of time to play that minion. I mean, it was a 7/11 for 2 mana at that, or 4 mana, I guess, if you count the cost of the hero power. But it's really slow, and it doesn't do anything when it hits the board. And then if you can play that and survive 3 turns after that, you probably won already, and you didn't need her in the first place. So yeah.
Or you needed, I don't know. And you still need to have cards that you want to play that are expensive in your hand.
Yeah. I mean, maybe there's some sort of like wild, not wild as in the format, but just like out there lethal combo that this enables. If you can but that's like, okay, I was a Quest Priest player, and that required you to play one of each cost of card from 2 up to 8. Shuffle the quest into your deck, draw it, and play it for 10 mana, and then you won. And this is too slow to me.
Well, that's why when the card was first revealed, I sort of assumed that each phase did something besides just be a pretty animation. Because if you were getting something along the way, in terms of like, okay, this phase does this to your board, this phase does something to that. Like, but the fact that it's just like, nah, just wait. Just wait 3 turns. Good luck.
Yeah, I think it's something that might occasionally be relevant off a Discover or off an Imbue if we see Imbue Priest, but I doubt we're gonna.
And maybe you take it off. I can't
Running it.
even see a scenario where you take it off of Malorn, because like the other options will almost always be better than this.
I mean, if you're in a specifically slower matchup and like you can do something with that mana, but yeah.
Sure.
Gonna be less often than some of the other stuff, I think. Yeah. All right. Well, last time for cards we wanted to be good but isn't, I picked Exarch Akama. We were starting to see we had tried to make him work in the pre-release brawl, and I was slowly realizing maybe this wasn't it. Although people are having success with Draenei Warrior in the pre-release brawl right now, which I suppose does show you the format, right? That this deck that was not anywhere near good enough during GDB actual meta.
Yeah. And that was also a 6-set meta, right?
Yeah.
So like there might be some opportunity for some, like Magnetize was famously a completely dead mechanic when it launched in Boomsday. And then as soon as all that stuff rotated out, we had like Magnetize Warrior, Mech Hunter, and stuff like that. And Magnetize was all over the place in a bunch of different places. Now, I'm not saying that that's Draenei Warrior, but there is opportunity when you're rotating out a lot of powerful cards for mechanics like that for older sets to shine.
So there's a chance. But I think I was correct that I wanted it to be good, and it wasn't. Edel, same thing. You picked Deirdre, Rebel Captain, and crewmates in general.
Yeah, seen a lot of that in the pre-release brawl also, and it's still fine, but it's not great.
Like, I don't know, maybe there's actually something you can do with crewmates now, but Deirdre, it's just you're shuffling a bunch of junk into your deck. I don't know.
Right.
Maybe, okay, so here's one wild thing is like maybe there's a world where because of the Demon Hunter spell that you discover a Death Rattle that died, and in addition to doing the Death Rattle, which they buffed to draw 2 of the crewmates instead of 1, you get an extra copy. So maybe you get to shuffle a couple of times of all these crewmates into your deck, and then you just are re-summoning Deirdre and just getting the draw 2 from the Death Rattle without shuffling more in, as they get re-summoned from the Fell Hunter, Fell Bat stuff.
You're not making this sound more appealing when you're
so
describing
you have
it this
these
way.
endless boards of 4/4s. Yeah,
Sure.
I don't know.
My experience playing against that is that by the time that they finally assemble enough crewmates, I just Moonwell and go about my day.
Yeah. Well, it really makes Illusory Greenwing just look way better, right?
Yeah. It sure does.
Yeah. I mean, it sounds a lot better than what we've done with Deirdre before, but then there's other stuff we can do with that card, as we were discussing. Yeah. So, and Wicked, you had picked for card you want to be good but isn't, Cure the Light Beyond, which we have not seen at all.
Well, we got that off Imbue, and it was still disappointing even when it was free.
We were just like, I guess we have a free 3/3. Sure.
Yeah, and maybe we got like 1 or 2 other spells to go off with it, and then they all died, and then we started over. Yeah, it was even when we weren't paying for it and we didn't put it in our deck, it was still meh.
Is Power Word Shield holy?
I believe it is, yes.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like there's a chance if we get enough like 1 or so cost holy spells that you can actually have a pop-off turn. But there has to be some other payoff, right? You can't just have this 1 legendary.
We need to get like the two cost elemental that discounted all your spells by 1 and priest back.
No.
Do that. Let's not do that.
Really don't.
Let's not do that.
I don't even want to do that.
No.
That card got Boon of the Ascended nerfed, which was terrible for Naga Priest, which was innocent because it was Boon Priest's fault. Yeah. Anyway, I won't go on that rant.
Anyway, yes.
It was a necessary nerf, and it made me sad. All right. Card you think is over or underrated? As usual, we all picked underrated. So Wicked, what do you think is underrated?
I mean, I've been talking about it all episode. Moonwell's great. It's fantastic. I think that it kind of got a little bit of, it looks unassuming, really, when you look at it. But the fact that it goes face, the fact that it heals your stuff and your face, like And when you can double it, it's been really solid. Anytime that I've played it, I've picked extra copies off of like astrobiologists and just held them in my hand. It's like, okay, like I've just set up, like, again, this is pre-release Brawl. This is not real life. But like I've had games where I just like set up 2 turns where I just like Moonwell them twice in a row. Right. And like, okay, you're at 8. You're not going to heal. I'll just Moonwell you now. That's going to be enough healing for me to survive, to clear off the scary stuff, and then survive whatever else you have left up remaining on the board. And then you don't heal, and then I just Moonwell you again and I win. Now, is that going to ever happen in on ladder? I don't know, but I think that this is probably going to be part of Priest Toolkit going forward, just because it is really doing everything that you want a priest spell to do. It's not like Psychic Scream or Whirlpool or anything like that, but it does a lot. And even at 7 mana at that point in the game, like 4 damage across the board is generally still relevant.
Yeah, it is unfortunate that it doesn't get all the green wing taunts.
Yes.
So there were definitely times when we were happy to have like a free Holy Nova to go with it off of the Imbue or something.
Or you play Thalnos or something, like it's fine.
Yep. All right, Edel, what is the card you think is underrated?
So I picked Ancient of Yore, which I guess, you know, maybe I'm just not listening to enough things. I'm sure it's the kind of card that people look at it, like understand, oh yeah, this is a good card. But I have not seen that much discourse, and it does feel like it will be in anything that is of an archetype to desire it. Like just 2 turns of end of turn, draw a card, gain 5 armor is substantial. And particularly if you are a class that doesn't normally get armor, that maybe needs a little bit card draw, like it's just a solid support card. I was tempted to put, just because we rarely put overrated, and I want it to be true, the Hamul, right? The Druid Imbue. Because for all the memes of Jade Druid, like it is not Jade Druid. You don't make multiple big things on the same turn. But
well, unless you're running like Sing Along Buddy or something like that. But
yeah, but even then
you're running a Sing Along Buddy to do that. So
like end game Jade Druid was, you would play Jade Idol 3 times, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. Maybe we just have to see how people end up building it. But I had sort of felt like, because you have to stick with just nature spells, and there aren't like a ton of nature spells that do face damage right now, it sort of seemed like you could get stuck in the situation where like you're trying to build it up, but once you've built it up, it's like, well, I just get one of these each turn. I don't know.
My turn. Card I think that is underrated. So I put Dreambound Raptor. Again, I don't think people don't think this card is good, but I just haven't heard that much discourse around it or seen it include very much. Dreambound Raptor is the 1 mana 2/1 that whenever you play another minion, it gets a random keyword. It is random. We're losing a lot of good 1-drops though. Like we don't have Salesman anymore once we have rotation. And I think any card that's playing 1-drops, this is a 1-drop it will at least consider playing.
I think Beaming Sidekick might also be back in core, which was a 1 mana 1/2 battle cry, give a friendly minion +2 health. And so one of the things you would do is like if you had a powerful 1-drop that could snowball in some way, you would do that just to keep it alive, right? Maybe the Demon Hunter one that scales every time you attack, or the Shaman one that scales off Overload or things. Like Beaming Sidekick was kind of this just nice support 1-drop to make your snowbally cards stay alive longer, and seems like it would be really good with Dreambound Raptor.
Beaming Sidekick is in fact it has been in core this whole time, and it is staying in core.
Well, this is exactly the kind of card that it could be good with.
This is exactly the kind of card that maybe we would start playing it for. Yeah. No, that's a great point. And she herself will get a keyword, which might be relevant.
Yeah. Could be poison.
Could be poison.
Or taunt.
Yeah. And just that every little bit of early board, like I could see it especially being good in aggro mirrors, especially on the play, right? You play that on one, you play something, you happen to get a divine shield or a taunt or something that can, or a rush that can spiral you for sure. All right. So last time, cards that we thought were underrated. Wicked, you said Warlock Starship Pieces.
Yeah, I missed the mark on that one.
Swing and a miss.
Yeah.
Swing and a miss. Yep. Edel, you said Nebula.
TBD, maybe.
TBD. We have time. And I said random fire spells, aka Blasteroid and Supernova. And my husband did play a little bit of Blasteroid in Elemental Mage, but mostly we haven't seen it.
Well, but Supernova was kind of a deck, right? For a little bit. People were touring Mage into Rogue and doing it as like their big spell in a deck that was doing other things, but it was sort of a backup plan. I don't know.
I do think that there's, Supernova may have, there are situations where you would play it.
Yeah.
All right. So lastly, cards that we don't understand. So I picked Envoy of the Glade, which is a 4-mana 3/6 battlecry. Transform all neutral cards in your deck into random druid ones. I don't really know why we're ever doing this.
Well, I guess if you're running that paladin spell that draws a card that started in your deck and one that doesn't, and you're not running portals for some reason, then you could do this. Just to prove a point, I guess. I don't know.
These are the kinds of cards I feel like where it's like, this can make an arena run really interesting because you have a bunch of neutrals, and so turning them into random druid cards, the average druid card is going to be better than your average neutral card. So yeah, I suspect it will sometimes be a solid pick in arena for that reason. But yeah, are we ever running it in a constructed deck? Probably not.
It's a 4-mana 3/6. It doesn't do anything the turn you play it. Eventually you're going to get random druid spells, and that's assuming that all druid spells are good. Druid cards are good, which they're not always there. Like, druid does have some bad cards. Not many, to be fair. But it does have bad cards, and it doesn't matter. Like, if you're getting like random druid cards, like, what if you just get like, your hero power costs 0 or, refreshes as like a rogue, right? Like, what is that doing for you? It's I was a person who tried to make Renounced Darkness work. Don't do that. Just don't. I'll save you the trouble. Just don't do that.
You're a Protoss mage and you're hoping to get that druid Protoss spell, by which the better way to do it is to run the new location and just always hit it when you have 0 mana.
Yeah.
Oh, no, I got it. You're playing like Starship Demon Hunter and you really want your Starship to be elusive.
All right. Edel, what is the card that you don't understand?
So, Hungering Ancient. This is an 8-mana minion in Warlock. I don't remember the stats. It's not relevant.
It's a 6/7. Yeah.
Sure. It consumes a minion from your deck, a Death Rattle minion, and gains its stats. And when Hungering Ancient dies, you get the minion in your hand. So it is just a big body, assuming the Death Rattle minion it eats is pretty decent size. But no taunt, no relevant keywords of any kind. And it's a little bit of awkward card draw, because when it dies, you get the thing to your hand. But it's not a demon, So you're not like cheating it out with anything.
It's actually not even just a death rattle minion. It is any minion in your deck.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, it eats any minion in your deck.
Any minion. Okay. Yeah. I don't know if that's worse or better, but it's just like, I don't know why we would do this.
Well, it corrupts Shaladrisil. Does that help?
No.
So do other things. And we're Warlock. We have a hero power that draws us things.
And you know, you mentioned Shaladrisil. If they just play a Shaladrisil and dream it, then you have lost the thing it consumed.
And you can't even do like the double death rattle things because it won't have eaten the minions, so you're not going to get like copies of them. Like if you were to like, or do you don't, that doesn't work with like Cubicle, right?
No.
Yeah. So you just get a base copy of it, and then you don't get copies of those minions in your hand. Like that would be a cute interaction if it worked that way, but it doesn't.
For 13 mana. Like it costs
Ysera exists, you could get there.
Hungering Ancient costs 8. Like if it were cheaper and smaller itself, and then you like relied on it eating a big minion from your deck and giving you this, but sure. It costs 5, right? But you would eat Ceaseless or big demons or other things in your deck and then draw them if they killed the... Okay. But it costs 8. Like, this is your power turn, and the turn you play it, it doesn't do anything besides be a lot of stats.
Maybe, but if you're running any small minions, it may not even be that many stats.
Well, you wouldn't run it with small minions.
Yeah, but I mean, that then puts a deck building restriction on you, that you can't run small minions.
And Forge of Wills is rotated out, which would be the other argument for it, right? That even if you were like...
end of turn.
Well, I mean, it's still a 6/7 when you play it, which is not nothing if you happen to have a Forge of Wills out, but that's rotating.
But you could pay 4 mana for a big taunt, right? Based on the cards in your hand.
But that doesn't have as many words on it. That's not as interesting.
All right. Wicked, what did you pick as card you don't understand?
Well, I being the one who makes the show notes, I got to pick first because I got to pick as soon as I put the show notes together. Yeah.
And this is the obvious one.
And this is the obvious one. So I'm not even trying. Alarashi, I don't care. I don't care. Nobody's ever saying the name of that card ever again after this. 5 mana, 5/5 Demon Beast. Battlecry, transform minions in your hand into random demons. They keep their original stats in common. Why are you doing this?
All right, I do have a story on this. So
okay.
I made a bad version of the Wallow Warlock because I didn't bother to look at what the good one was before just jumping into the brawl. And I went a little too... The ones that people are making do lean into the random demon thing a bit. Because you can get some really good stuff in a limited pool. But,
the reason is that 2 of the things that give you dark gifts are demons, and the pool is very small. So anything that discovers demons gives you a chance to hit more dark gifts.
Exactly. So one of them gives you random demons, not discovered. So I got an Alarashi, and then I was getting outvalued and cleared of everything. And so I Hail Mary played this for a reduced amount, like 3. And I had a bunch of completely terrible demons in my hand. It's the Abduction Ray card. You keep playing it and it adds demons into your hand that cost less.
I put that in my Voltron Warlock too. Yeah.
So if you have a whole hand of terrible demons, because you didn't hit the Dark Gift ones, in your hand, that costs like 1 or 0, and you also have an Alarashi that costs 1, and then you play her. She did win me that game. So clearly... And that's a completely different class than the card class that has this. So that is the one story of the one time that Alarashi was useful.
Which, I mean, I guess means if people are window shopping again, that's sort of the use case is you're like, well, these are bad. Let me re-roll.
There's still going to be one. I mean, I guess not all. The first one's going to be 4, but yeah, or 5 or whatever it costs. But yeah, I mean, sure. Like, I don't know. It's certainly not a card you're going to put in your deck for any reason other than you really want to meme hard on some, or you're achievement hunting maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's... You look at how Prestor was played. Like, Prestor worked because the druid that she was running, you, like, played a bunch of aggro stuff, and then you would run out and say, okay, I'm going to play Prestor, and it turns everything that's in my deck into these dragons,
Oh, no, it was
right?
just deck.
Prestor was just deck, right? This, it doesn't do your deck. So you need the opposite thing going on. And generally, the kinds of decks that want to put a bunch of things in their hand do not want to turn those things into random nonsense. Yeah. So,
like, even when you, like, I have played Stars Align Priest, which I don't recommend. And the problem with that is that, I mean, at least you had 2 copies of Stars Align. That wasn't a legendary that you only got to do once. You can't even really build around it as well. But even when you did that, like, you'd play Stars Align, and then you just have a bunch of crap in your hand. And maybe it makes things work out, but usually it doesn't. And then you had to try to just play with these garbage minions. And there are a lot of bad demons, because it's not even Demon Hunter demons, it's any classes. So, like, you can get the ones that punch you in the face, and they're still a 1-mana 1/1. Like, that's no good. You don't want that. Like, why would you do that to yourself? Have some self-respect.
Yes. Well, it's kind of cool art. That is the one thing I'll say for it. It's
it's a bear. It's a bear that's in like a prescription medicine commercial. Like, that's all that it is.
All right. Well, for cards we don't understand, last time I picked Eldritch Being, which is the 1-mana 1/3 for Demon Hunter that reshuffles your hand. Edel, you picked Dwarf Planet. And Yep. Yep. Wicked, you picked Ascara, which we have finally used in the pre-release brawl.
Yes, I was mad then, and I think that was justified. And until about 2 days ago, I still didn't understand it. I don't know what we're doing, but it feels a little bit better. But even then, it's I was justified in my pick at the time.
All right. Well, I am really excited for day one with this, even if we might. There's always going to be something that takes over, whether or not that's the Death Rattle DH or not. And even if they hotfix that, there'll be something else that is the villain of day one, and then there'll be a different villain of day two. And then but I'm excited to see everyone on the other side of the Emerald Dream.
Yeah. It's Tuesday, right?
It's Tuesday.
Yeah. Man. All right. Well, we have many folks we'd like to thank. Check out our thanks section on the website at concede.com, and you can also find our contact info, our show notes, and our Patreon information. You can monetarily support our show at patreon.com/coinconcede. Join us every week live by following us on Twitch at twitch.coinconcede.com. Join our community chats in our Discord at discord.coinconcede.com. And write into our email at coinconcede@gmail.com. Follow us on Blue Sky at coinconcede, and if you'd like some CC swag, head over to our shop at shop.coinconcede.com. So CoinConcedes, I'm going to CoinConcede to Noglako, a Sugoi teammate of mine who is playing in the qualifier this weekend. I think we might have one or two others, but I know he is. And we were. I was asking like, oh yeah, what have people been playing? And he made me very quickly realize with what decks are viable in this Frankenmeta that actually I should just do my taxes on Sunday and not play in this qualifier because, Ramp Druid with unnerved Shattered Reflections and Naga DH and Nature Shaman and Odin Warrior with 4 mana Sanitize. It's, I can wait. I can wait until the next qualifier with the new cards.
That does sound like the Emerald Nightmare. That does sound like what that is.
Truly. Yes. Yeah. we won't even have any of the Emerald Dream cards. Yikes.
Well, I will also coin concede to the open qualifier competitors. We also have show producer SSJ5 Goku, I believe, is in the open qualifier. So good luck to him as well, and to everyone else who was braving this crazy time to be doing an open qualifier. And I will also coin concede to the Soviet Onion, the winner of the Coin Concede Listener Series for the Great Dark Beyond, and everyone else who participated in the CCLS as well. It was a really fun event.
And I'm going to preemptively coin concede to Yumagesa and to World Aid for helping me with the new meta spreadsheet that I will be maintaining again. Because I just remembered that I need to set that up again. But that'll be on my website, offcurve.com. And that'll be live as of Tuesday. And as usual, we'll be collecting all of the new deck lists as they come out. That will be a little bit more difficult now that I'm not using Twitter as much, though I may have to make an exception for that 1 week because people are not posting deck lists on Blue Sky as often. But yes. I will be tracking all of that. So if you also do not want to go to Twitter, then we will do that for you and brave that hellscape and come back with the deck list so that you can just go to my spreadsheet and get them instead of having to deal with that website. So
yeah. Also, thanks to HS Top Decks, who does post on Blue Sky. That is a great help. Yes.
So, but that's going to do it for us for this week. So until next time, keep calm and enjoy the new expansion and the new standard year. And if you see us on ladder, coin concede.
Coin concede.
Coin concede.
All life must end. I yield for now. I concede. Well fought. I concede.
You win this one.
The victory is yours.
You have bested me.
I give up.
You win this one, friend. You win this time. I choose death.